You ask, is there a better way? Well, there may be. Yeah, the more chucks, the funner this is. Just don't tell your wife you have so many chucks and what they cost. All right, so the next way to show here is going to be with a worm drive. So if you have a worm drive, you can cut out one of those steps of having to mount that thing the third time.
What's the worm drive?
Worm screw. Worm screw, for some reason I call it the worm drive. It's a worm screw. They usually come with the chuck. So I'm going to mount this in there with the worm screw. Of course, you have to drill a hole in the center. But for this, we'll go ahead and mount this. So you get that mounted in there, and then you say, oh, wait a minute. That's going to go all the way through my piece, and I don't want that feature that's got a hole all the way through the piece. So what you do for that is you decide what length you want, and you just make yourself a spacer. So in this case here, I just took a 3/4 inch piece and made a spacer. And of course now that gets me about what I need for this. It's also a little bit of safety. It gets you away from the chuck a little bit. You can go ahead and you could profile most, 99% of the outside. I'll show that you could profile it. The only thing with that is I did that the first time I did this. I said, oh, look at this. I can profile the whole thing. That's great. Nice. Everything's round. Everything's like I want it. That's good until you go to take it off this screwdriver. It's like, wait a minute, that thing is stuck on there. I can't get that thing back off very easily. So, yeah, different ways of taking that back off. What I recommend is just leaving a little bit of square, and I'll show that. But let's go ahead and get another one ready to go on here. And I brought some extras today, so take a few home if you'd like to, if you're going to do this project. How many are thinking you may do this? Awesome. Even Buzz, even better. So Buzz, you're going to bring in an example next time?
No, I just wanted to raise my hand.
Okay.
He just wanted the wood. Teacher said.
Rob still has a lot of that stuff.
Oh, I know he does.
So if I could mark centers properly. Get you the center there. Let's see what tools
Drills on.
Yep, looking for the center punch just to go ahead. If you have the center punch, it's good just to go ahead and give yourself you don't want 2 or 3 holes like that, but get one. You get one. And then also the first time I did this, I wasn't paying attention to the instructions or the size that I should use. This particular one needs 3/8. I actually, first time I used 7/16 and drilled a hole, and I really cranked that thing on there, and that of course didn't help getting that thing back off either. So go ahead and put yourself a piece of tape. I know how deep I want to go for this. So of course it's deep enough to get that in there. So then just go ahead and make sure you drill that. And then on YouTube, you've probably seen people turn it on and go for it here. I may do that a little bit to get started, but I don't hold on to it the whole time or to really do that. And of course, I'm going to turn it down some and get it going. Oh, that was even faster than I was expecting.
round, not square.
True. I felt that one. So don't do it. Don't do what I just did, please.
Hard on your finger.
May need a Band-Aid. No.
That's when the wood starts turning red.
Yep. All right. So now you can see the advantage of this is I'm not restricted by the tailstock. So the tailstock doesn't have to be up here, but I am going to use the tailstock to mark this one. And this time, I'm going to make sure I do a better job at deciding whether I'm going to have a tenon or not. So this time I'm going to, I think I'll go with a recess. No, actually I'm going to go with a tenon because I'm going to use it on this chuck. So I'm going to go with a tenon, but I'm going to make sure to give myself plenty of room for my tenon. And I think just to make sure here, we'll double check this one. Well, kind of hard to double check now. Actually, I do have it marked, don't I? So I'll just check there, and sure enough, if I leave the line, then I'll have a large enough tenon. I think that's what I did last time. I took the line, didn't I, and messed myself up.
You went in the back end, just before you took it off, you went in and cut off a little bit more, and that's when you did it.
Kind of messed myself up, so. All right, so this time now, I'm going to come in here and show you. Leave the line. And the reason of leaving the line too is then you know it's there, it's proof. If you come in here and say, well, I'll take the line, then as you're doing sanding or any refining or anything else, you're like, well, I don't know exactly where I was. But if you leave the line, then it's there until you finally sand it away.
And one more thing, if you'll notice, because he used the 3/4 inch board round to shorten up the screw, it also gave him a very, very strong back or back piece.
Yes.
Why is it?
Yeah, I think I need to back this off. Yeah, I didn't need this up there, so I kind of had that wasn't centered actually. I think I locked it down. I probably drove it up there, I locked it down, and it wasn't actually centered. So for this actually, this can come out of the way.
Pieces on it, you know what I'm saying?
Now I actually have more room to work with this out of the way, and to get that little bit of extra, go ahead and move this out of the way as well.
You don't want to hit that with your elbow.
That's true, yeah. I probably got a few marks on mine already. So now I come back, and of course you can see this wood, I haven't did anything special to this wood yet. Oh, I did skip a step. I would have went ahead and faced that off first. I would have faced it off, then I would have did the mark, then I'd come back and do this. So let's actually do that. So to face this off, you can pick any tool you like. You can use the bowl gouge if you want to face it off with a bowl gouge. You could use a spindle tool if you wanted to, but we'll just come in here.
If you cut your tenon first, you'll still have your line.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and draw it again.
Draw it again and draw it wrong.
That may be. And that handle is rubbing underneath there.
Push in the center of that and move that.
All right, so we're there. We're going to be doing about center. Just going to come across with an easy shear cut across it.
Now, the safety tip, always turn your lathe by hand before you start cutting.
True, yep. Make sure it clears everything. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and turn it up to a pretty decent speed. Just come in here very lightly. Come right across here and just face this off. You don't have to take it all at one time. Face it off enough, it's cleaned it up, it's faced it off. I didn't have to come all the way out, because if you come all the way out, then you are getting into that spot that you're turning air and wood, and more of a chance of getting a catch or having an issue or something. So you definitely can do it, but in this case here, I'm going to end up turning this away, so I don't really need those corners faced off. So now we have a cleaner surface to work with. You could have also did that with the spindle gouge. For this one, what I do for this, and the safety cops aren't here, but I'll put this back on. I just come in here easy, pick up the bevel there, come across, and then you could just take out. Come right across there and possibly get a cleaner cut than you had with the bowl gouge. So now I'm back to a flat surface.
Put your tailstock back in.
Yep, I'm going to go back for the tailstock. We're going to mark it again. And I just need to push it up here. Go back for the pencil. Now, these are Home Depot Lows. They got a magnet on them so I can stick them to the lathe. Come back in here and just going to go ahead and mark this. Once again, I stood the pencil up this time to get that little extra.
Double check it with your calipers.
Now I'm good this time. I'm going to leave the line. But yes, the more checking you do, the better. So come back in. Everything's good. So now you're not restricted. Since you have this on the worm screw, you're not restricted with the tailstock. Come back in there, and now I have my tenon. This one does need just a slight dovetail. So for that, some of those tools that I bought 30 years ago, the Craftsman, the skew, has a nice angle on it that gives me that nice angle for the dovetail. And it's really not much of a dovetail. That little small area, it's not much of a dovetail. So you don't have to put a 45-degree cut on it. All right. So now I can grab that. This is the chance to go ahead and embellish the bottom there. Since you have access to it here, it's the best time to go ahead and finish the bottom. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and to finish that bottom, a lot of times it's whatever tool I happen to be holding. So in this case, if I had just did the bottom there with this Badan, it has some nice corners on it. You may just want to turn that back on. There's 3 quick lines, $5 instantly. You get that. If you want to go back and maybe fancy them up just a little bit, you can come back in and just take the other side slightly. I'm a little bit below center there, so it's not the best. Get that up to where it's cutting on center. Go back and possibly just make those look different. However you want those to look. And of course, this is too the chance, if you're going to leave this foot on there, you want to make sure everything inside that foot is a little bit lower than that outside foot. So then maybe I would just come in here and trim some of that down a little bit. Just to make sure that it's going to set. These are small, these dishes, you can use a lot of the things that you use for turning bowls or something, but these are so small, it's just not magnified the same as if you were turning a large bowl and having that issue. But now we've got it to this point. So now we're back to forming this one. So let's go ahead and we're just going to call this one, we're going to make it round for today. So back in here, just lower this down a little bit to where I'm cutting pretty close on center. Let's come in there and let's just make this round. And every cut you're making, even if you're just doing this, it's a good time to practice the cut. It's also a good time to practice sneaking up on whatever pattern you're looking for. You can start making a few cuts. You can stop, you take a look, you decide, you know, I like that. I like the fact it's a concave or a convex, or you like whatever you're doing. Just take that little bit of time to think about it. You get to see it, think about it, but you also get that opportunity just to practice your cuts. And dull your blade a little more, but also you're noticing that I'm trying to do the anchor method to where you anchor this to your hip. It took me forever to get to where I actually could do that. It didn't seem natural at first. The more that people keep telling me to do it, the more that I keep trying to do it. So I try to make sure that I anchor the tool, and then you move your body instead of moving your arm so much. And then I can just start sneaking up on whatever design that I decide for this to be. You just kind of start sneaking up on it. And once again you stop, and then you realize, okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm not going to turn this all the way because we're going to turn it around and we're going to finish it from the other side. But you need to get enough here so that when you turn this around, you're going to be close to the chuck again. So you want to go ahead and do as much as you can here to be able to stay away from the chuck when you turn it. So I may take just a little bit more. So I'll come back over here. And maybe take out a little bit more and possibly even leaving a design. I've got a little bit of a ridge here, but maybe I want to keep that. Maybe it's part of the design. This is where you can also start to decide, you know, you've got this thing is still square, so this is where you kind of start watching your sides here. And if you realize, hey, they're matching, I must have got this thing in here pretty square, maybe you want to decide you're going to stay square at some point on the top half of this. Now I've got this round. Some of the things to really pay attention to is this shoulder. You want to make sure you get that shoulder nice and clean. At this point, if you had any tear out or something, you want to go ahead and go back and possibly redo the shoulder if it's got some tear out. This is also the time that I'd bring out the sander and go ahead and sand this completely, sand this through all the grits, and I would go ahead and apply the finish as well. Because you've got this thing mounted, it's on the lathe, it's spinning. It's the best time to go ahead and do that sanding. It's the best time to go ahead and put your finish on here, clean it up, and then you're done with the bottom. You know, if everything else goes well, then your bottom is finished. And that's one of the nice things I like about just mounting this twice. So for this one, like I said, we're not going to do sanding. Wanted to save everybody from that today. So this one's turned enough. You know, let's go ahead and decide to turn this around. So this is where you now go back to try to take this thing off, and it's not going to be so easy to get that off of there.
That's why I use a strap wrench. Yeah, strap wrench. I couldn't think of what the name of it was. That's the best part.
Actually, yes, it wouldn't mar it.
On a slope.
Yeah.
You need a flat.
Yeah, for this one, since we have a flat here, and since I left this purposely, knowing that I would mar this, because when I took that first one off I'd already profiled everything, so I marred it pretty good by having to use these. Well, then there was a design opportunity. I went back and took off a little more once I turned it around. But with this here, you can go ahead and grab this thing, figure out where this is here, and then of course the chuck wants to come off. So that's the other problem. And then you could do this and actually just hold it here instead of holding the thing, and then you can sit here and you can walk this off. So I think you can see how I learned this part. And it's actually just taking them both off at the same time there.
If you put a little beeswax on that screw before you put it in, it'll come off easy.
Thank you, Glenn. Yep. I had that in my notes, but I totally forgot it. So Glenn, you used the worm screw a few times?
Yes, sir.
Quite a bit? All right.
Works on regular wood screws too, by the way, for flat work.
Okay. All right, so we have that off now. So in this case here, you know, this is the one chuck method, one chuck. If you only have the one chuck, you have the default jaws it came with. And if you have the worm screw, then this could be the way that you choose to do this. So now we take out the worm screw. We move over here. And this time, if I gave myself plenty, put the pressure in the center, hold it in. Crank it down just before you hear it cracking. Oh.
How deep is your tenon?
About a 1/16 of an inch. So this wood is pretty hard wood, so I think that's why we get away with that. If this was pine or something, I don't think you could do this. So now we're mounted back in there. For safety purposes, for safety, you can go ahead and bring this back up while you take off this outside edge. Since you're taking off a little bit more here, I'd bring it back up to do that. When I go to take out the center, of course, I'm going to move it away. But let's go ahead and bring that back up there. Let's stick with the bowl gouge. That's turning nicely. Got a little pressure on it. Now you're going to decide, you know, am I going to keep the square? And I'm noticing here that I'm not really squared, so this is already very little of that pattern left. Over here I have about twice as much of that pattern. So this one,
Be round.
yeah, I think this one's going to be round. So let's go ahead and make this round.
Oh, something new.
Yeah, I think it came loose, and I'm also a little further away than I want to be. Tighten that a little bit more. And that's not running center. I'll back it off a little bit. We'll leave it close, but not engaged really. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make this round, so same thing. Anchor your tool. Make several cuts, get it down closer. Now this is where you can see those sides. You know, possibly you do want that pattern. You got the opportunity to leave it. Or in this case here, it's the first time I've seen, looks like all four of them are different. I can't explain that when they're usually matched. But in this case here, I'm going to take care of that little odd feature. I didn't catch the speed on that one, but still got a couple there. Got rid of 2 of the 4. Interesting. Let's go a little bit more. And I don't I don't know speed because my lathe doesn't have a speedometer on it. That's 2,000 right now. And I don't know if you saw that there at the last minute, I made a design decision. Yeah, still missing that. Yeah. So, another design decision. I've decided to leave a little ridge on this one. I still got one of those sides are being ornery. I don't particularly like that look. I think I'll take one more cut. But for the demo, I'm not gonna, spend all the extra time making it pretty today. So let's go ahead and maybe something like that. I don't think I've seen that design that I've did so far. So we'll call that the design. Then of course I'd go back to, well, I wouldn't say in just yet. So at this point, now it's time to decide what I want the inside to be here. And if you saw some of those, you've got at least two options. You can go with a nice scoop that everybody seems to like. But then you can also do square. Some of these I went to square because this wood was so hard, I was having a hard time scooping it out, so it's a whole lot easier to use the end cut and just take it out square. But it's a design option. You can choose one or the other. Let's go ahead, we'll curve this one out.
Take your tailstock out.
Thank you, sir.
And the one thing Tony didn't, he said a couple times probably, but think about it. You can make 10 or 20 of these bowls, and every time you do it, that little bowl is no different than making a 20-inch bowl. But it doesn't take you near as long. But you practice. I mean, you got to do the same steps to make that little bowl as you do a big bowl, and you get so much more practice. So much more practice.
Absolutely, yep. All right, so now we're going to take out the inside here.
You drill a hole.
Well, I've got the hole from the worm screw. So it does kind of help because you're not fighting that center so much. So now I'm just going to come in here. And remember, you are on a 1/16 of an inch tenon. So you can't really plow this really hard or you're going to throw it off. So just come in here and take easy cuts. I need to adjust just a little bit. And of course this is where you're paying attention. I haven't got to the bottom of that yet. But the good old measurement tool is coming here and just getting in my mind that okay, I'm about halfway. I got a few more cuts to go. I want to stay away. This isn't an exact stuff where you're getting this as thin as possible. You just want that nice curve inside there. And that rest doesn't feel like it's quite in the right spot. So once again, I'm double checking. Still haven't made it to the complete bottom yet. And that's better. All right, got a pretty good curve going there. Checking my depth. You know, I think I'm going to call that good for the demo here. You know, you got the outside profiled, you got the inside profiled. I'd go back with a scraper and possibly scrape that up just a little bit. And also, and I do have this scraper here. It's not a negative rake scraper, but this curve here is what's been giving me those nice curves. So I come in here with this. Let's go ahead and do a few. Hopefully I won't throw this off here. That's been my last couple of catches has been with this.
Yeah.
But I'm going to come in here. And I can tell there's a little bit of high spot, kind of starting that curve. So come around like that.
You tilt it downward, you get the same benefit as a
Negative rake. I've always kind of wondered why there was that difference there. So that's turned out pretty good. I think the little thing in the center there will sand away. The other thing now is to blend this inside to this exterior, because I haven't touched this outside edge yet. So this outside edge need to do a little blending. And for that I just gently come around, kind of go back inside just a little bit, and then basically you're just kind of coming around and tie those two together. Kind of a final thing there before you start your sanding, and then now it's got a nice smooth transition from the outside to the inside. So at this point here, you know, it would be to the sandpaper. I may go a little bit deeper on that one, but this would be sandpaper at this point. And then once I got down with the sandpaper completely done, I'd already have the finish applied to the other side. I'd be applying the finish to this side, and you're done. So you only had to mount the thing twice. So that's the method using the worm screw. Do we still have enough time for one more?
Yeah, the next one will be fast.
25 minutes.
How much?
25 minutes.
So I want to pass that one around just as a, so that's the, that's using the worm screw.